Alright, I'm going to try to compare Commvault VM backups and restores to using just the native OCI block volume groups and volume clones and volume backups to protect this instance here that is running Microsoft SQL. And right now you can see I have a HammerDB workload running on this instance. This is the instance that we're going to be backing up right here. And you can see this instance has a boot volume and it has 5 block volumes. And right now I have the HammerDB hitting a database that has files across multiple volumes. We'll see that here. Here you can see the database has an MDF file and 2 NDF files for this TPCC2 database and a log file all on different volumes. Okay. And what I'm trying to prove here is whether or not the Commvault backup is able to maintain the same level of crash consistency as using volume groups without any agents in the mix. I did install the file system agent on this instance, but I don't know if it's configured properly. But you can see this is the processes that are currently running the Commvault services on this instance. So what I'm going to do now, while this workload is running, while we're doing 167 plus thousand transactions per minute, I'm going to go in and kick off a Commvault backup. I just want to make sure that this test is already ramped up. And just want to let it run for a few more minutes before I kick off the backup. It should run for an hour. So let me let this work for another 5 minutes. I'll kick off the Commvault backup, and at the same time, while that backup is running, I'll start the process of cloning this volume group here. So here's the volume group, and you can see in this volume group, which I'm calling the name of the instance dash backup, you could see it has the 5 boot volumes in it. The 5 block volumes and the boot volume. So all the volumes are in this volume group, and there are currently no clones of this volume group. So instead of working with a volume group backup, which I already have here, I could create another backup and then launch volume or create volumes from the backup. But using clones is much faster than using volume group backups. And just to prove that, again, we're able to maintain crash consistency across all these volumes with transactional I/O running to the tune of, what was it? 100, almost 180 transactions per minute right now. Okay. So this workload has been running now for about 7 minutes. So I think that's long enough to prove whether or not the backup is going to be any good. So I'm going to go in and start the process in Commvault here in Command Center to back up this instance here. Okay. So I'm just going to hit backup. I just did a full backup about an hour or so ago, so I'm just going to make this one an incremental. I'm going to submit that job and we'll watch the job details. So this job is currently waiting. Let's see if it goes to a running status. Alright, the job is running. It should start creating volume backups pretty soon, but while it's doing its thing here, I will go into my volume group and I will, oh, that's the backup. I don't want to do a backup. So I'm going to go back into my volume group. All right, so here's the volume group. And you can see I've created clones before while I was testing that I've terminated. And those are the two clones that I've terminated. So I'm going to create another clone now, which should give me a point in time copy of all volumes attached, or all the volumes that are members of this volume group. So I'm just going to go in here and create volume group clone and call it VG clone test. How's that? And we'll create that. You can see that clone provisioning, and it should be ready pretty quick. It doesn't take very long. Meanwhile, let's look at our backup here. And the backup job is right here. The job is still running. Let's see if we can find the volumes that are getting created for that job. Alright, so this is the media agent that's doing this backup right now, and you can see volumes are starting to attach to my Linux media agent. And here comes some more. So you're going to see these volume clones that were created from volume backups getting attached to the media agent. And once they're all attached, then the blocks are going to be read and then copied off to the cloud storage, which is in a bucket, object storage bucket that will store the backup. You can see the volumes are still attaching here. I only have 3 so far. It should attach 5 volumes. There's 5 readers assigned to this plan that's doing the backup. So there's 4 volumes attached right now. And our volume clone is already ready to go. So, I mean, this backup job is just starting. And it's probably going to take maybe about 20 minutes to complete. It's 4 minutes in right now, and my clone is already ready to go. So I could actually go to this clone here, this one, and we could see the volumes that are part of this clone. So there's the block volumes that were created. There's 5 of those. Here's the boot volumes. And if I go into the actual block volumes, I should see those clones right now. Alright, so there's all my clone volumes right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I should have a boot volume clone as well. So while that Commvault backup job is running, so I believe that's the clone right there that I need to launch an instance from. You could see that Commvault just created its clone of the volume that it's going to attach to the so here's the boot volume clone right here. So what I'm going to do is just go right to this boot volume clone, and here you could see it was cloned from this volume group. Alright, so what I should be able to do is just launch an instance from this boot volume. So create instance. I'll call it VG restore test. It's going to be an AD1. I'll keep it there. The image is obviously tied to the boot volume. I'll just change the shape here to E6 and give it 4 OCPUs. And then we'll just move on here. We don't need anything there. Configure the network. All right, so network is set up here. I've selected my VCN and subnet. I don't need to do anything else. We don't need SSH keys for Windows. And let's see if I can attach some block volumes. Let's see if it lets me. So there's all 5 of them. I don't know if it'll let me attach all 5, so let me go with that one first. And I'm just going to do paravirtual to make this easier. I'm going to attach as many as I can until this button gets grayed out. Again, go with custom paravirtual attach. So that's the logs, the binaries. Let me leave out swap because I think we could live without that. For now, if it won't let me attach all of these, probably won't. Don't know why. It's limitations here. Obviously, it would be much better to script this, but for this demo, I'm just doing it this way, which is the hard way. And let me just try to get this done. And you can see it's grayed out now. It won't let me do more than 4. I don't know why. But anyway, I'll attach the last one once this thing boots up. Alright, so that should be ready to create. And it's provisioning, so once it's provisioned, I should be able to attach that last volume. And then we'll test this thing out and see how it looks. See if the databases come up and see if they pass some DB checksum test to see if anything is corrupt. Is it running? It's still provisioning. Our backup job is still running. Getting lots of throughput though. Looking pretty good on that Linux Media Agent for sure. Look at that, 705 gigabytes per hour. That's pretty impressive. Alright, this instance is running now. Should be able to attach my last block volume, the one I'm missing. That's the wrong instance. Let's get the right instance. Alright, it's this one. So I'm missing the swap one. And that would be that volume there. And make sure we make that one paravirtual as well. It should inherit it now that the instance is running. And now we have all our volumes attached. So the Commvault job I think is about done. I saw volumes detaching. Yep, it took 19 minutes. So this is ready to do the restore. So what I'm going to do is kick off the restore, and then we can validate both of these side by side and see how they both look. So I'm going to do, I'm going to go back here to my client here, and I don't see that new recovery point yet. Maybe that job is still running. Nope, finished. Completed. I don't know why I didn't see it. Let's see if it shows up here now. There it is. So I did, that's the last full backup right there. This was the incremental we just ran. It backups timestamp is 624, and we could probably see that the HammerDB workload is still running. So it was definitely running while both the Commvault backup and the volume clone was created from the volume group. So at this point, I'm ready to start the restore from the Commvault. So let's do that. And we're going to do a full virtual machine restore. We're going to do it out of place. I'm going to use my Linux media agent. I'm going to change it to CV restore for the display name. I don't think I need to change anything else here. We'll keep it in the same compartment. Everything here looks good. I'm gonna go next. You can power on after the restore, otherwise it won't attach the volumes. The block volumes, that is. So I'm going to click next and submit. So now we're going to restore that backup, and here's the restore job here. So that was our backup job. Here's the restore job. And the instance client cleanup failed. How about that? Instance with CV restore already exists. Alright, so the Commvault restore is running. Now I can see it provisioning. Last time I forgot I had my last restore still running, so I cleaned that up. So that one, I probably should have changed the shape, but anyway, that kind of sucks. I don't know, I screwed up and forgot to change the shape when I did the restore. Probably have to fix that at some point to do some testing. But anyway, let's continue and look at our volume group restore and see how that guy looks. Probably going to have to restart it because it didn't come up with all of its volumes initially. But let me go in and give it a security group, and I have one that's isolated here that I use for testing things like this. So allow RDP with no egress, and then I should be able to RDP to this guy and see how our databases look. You got IP. Alright, so you could see the shutdown was unexpected, but we know that's only crash consistent. Let's see if all of our volumes are here. And it looks like they are. SQL should not have started because I had the services set to manual, so let's see that. just for this reason. So let me see if I can start up SQL Server without rebooting this guy. See what it looks like. Alright, we'll start up the agent too. Alright, so SQL is up, running. We should be able to connect with Management Studio. Alright, so we could see that my HammerDB database is in recovery right now. Let's see if it actually recovers. It's 5% complete right now. Let's keep. We'll refresh it, but right now you could see that the database is not online. It is in recovery. So let's see if that finishes, and then we'll run a check DB, see if there's any corruption. And meanwhile, let's look at the Commvault restore job, and that's still running. 19 minutes in. So you can see the clone and the create instance from the clone volumes is much faster. But let's see if either one of these are any good, because the HammerDB workload is still hammering away at the source instance right now. You could see at about 160 transactions per minute. This is my cloned recovered instance here that I recovered using volume group clone. Recovery's complete. That's good. Let's see if the database is online to refresh this. Alright, so it's online. So now let's run a check DB on both of these databases. I'm actually more concerned about this one here, but it did recover, so that's a good sign. Let's see how it looks. Alright, I'll start by checking this one. There was no active transactions on that one, so let's do that one first just to make sure. That should take a minute or two to run. And we could see the Commvault restore job is still running. 21 minutes in. Alright, that one looks good. Let's try the other one. System databases are all in one volume, so this one's the one that would be critical because it has data files that span 3 volumes and logs that are on a 4th. So let's see how that one goes. Yeah, let's see if our Commvault job, nope, still going to restore, 29 minutes in. You could see the Commvault media agent that's used for this restore job is still has all volumes attached right now still. So it's attached to the media agent yet. There's no instance yet. And on the volume group clone restore, the check DB is still running. Alright, so that checks out. Let's just double check our system databases. Just for the heck of it. Check master. And we'll check MSDB. Really, I didn't do much yet with this server, so MSDB looks good. And we'll check model. That looks good. So this server looks pretty clean. We'll just refresh this. We should see all of our database checks with 0 errors. So I will, this was expected, obviously. Luckily, the database was in full recovery mode and the logs were good. It did take, did take a little bit of about a minute to recover. Not too bad. Let's see, recovery started around 12:12:53 and completed at 12:14. So it took a little over 2 minutes to recover. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy with the volume group clone recovery test. Let's see how the Commvault job is done. Looks like it's almost done because the volumes are detached from my media agent. And it looks like it's in the final phases here. We should see the instance starting up pretty soon here. Here it goes. So the Commvault restore test instance is running. And we're going to be ready to validate that one next. Alright, so I'm logging into the Commvault restore. The IP is 63.9.116. You can see again this one is just crash consistent. That is the right IP address. Just want to make sure I'm on the right server. We're okay with that. Let's see if all of our volumes are here. And they are. Let's see if we could start up SQL. Alright, this is what I was expecting. I did this intentionally just so I can control the startup. Alright, so SQL started up. Now, for the moment of truth, will this database recover like it did from the volume group clone restore? Alright, it's in recovery. And it looks like it's trying to recover. Didn't crash like my first test. So it almost looks like installing those file system agents did help somehow. Let's see if this thing recovers. Alright, I'm going to let this finish and then we'll run the same checkDB checks and see what we get. Just want to show here too that this database here, this HammerDB schema, does have data files that span 3 volumes and the logs are on a 4th volume. This is from the volume group restore, but just wanted to show that out and go back here and see how this guy is doing. 55% complete. Looks like it's chugging along. It's almost done. This is on a much slower instance. I tried to change the shape, but it wouldn't let me with the volumes attached. So that was my bad for launching this thing with a much older shape. But nonetheless, it should still work. It's at 86%. Alright, it's finally completed, so the database should be online now. Just to refresh. And it is. So let's run our check. And, let's go right to the one that took forever to recover. And start with that one. See what we get. Let that run. Yeah, and you could see checkDB's hitting all those data files. Gonna take a little bit. but it is running. There's no errors yet, so that's good. So my first test when I did this with Commvault, before I installed these file system agents, what did I actually install here? I forget. Let me see what services we have running here. So you can see that the VSS hardware provider and the communication framework, the communication service is installed. So I'm guessing this helped, even though I'm not sure how to configure that. I didn't see any VSS activity when the backup was happening, so I'm not sure exactly how this works, but my first test before, I mean, maybe my database was still in recovery and I didn't wait long enough and it just worked. So maybe Commvault does have a way of doing this without volume groups and without this agent. I would have to do another test with the agent removed. But let's just see if this actually comes back clean. It's still going. Alright, I guess I'll just double check all the databases just to make sure. Keep this apples to apples here. So I'll run this one real quick. Let that finish. We'll check the system databases and we'll wrap this up. Alright, that one looks good. So let's just quickly check our system databases. Gonna check master. Master looks good. And MSDB looks good. So, I mean, I don't understand how Commvault's doing it, but it looks like it's working. I'll have to do more testing just to be sure, but you could see this database, obviously you had to replay a lot of logs, and there were a lot of transactions that were rolled forward here, but that's expected because I bet, so yeah, this is the this is the one that Commvault recovered. I keep getting the two mixed up. But yeah, everything's clean. You could see the recovery process took a little bit longer on the slower instance, but it did recover. So that's a wrap for this one.